Okay, so there's some more tracks here. We're going to talk about these. What brought me over to this barefooted trackway was this. It looked like a fire ring to me. Maybe that's what it was. I assume long ago that's what it was. There's no charcoal or anything poking out of it, so I assume that's what it is, but maybe that's not. Maybe that's something more interesting, because it's a tiny one. I came over here and took a pee, and I set out my tape measure. So things begin right here. You can see right, left, right, left, right. I'm sorry, that looks like a right. It does to me anyway. And that looks like a right as well. But that looks like a left foot. Let me see if I can turn down the contrast there. You can see. And so it's about 27 inches from toe to toe. And here you can definitely see a right toe. So it's about 11 inches. And then things break into two sections of trackways. Now I'm going to point my camera up this way here and just follow my logic. I'm not saying this is one thing or another, but we're just following definitely some barefooted tracks. So they're going, and they kind of pigeon toe out, which is something I don't look for. That's what humans walk like in the mud. But typically these tracks look like a tightrope, kind of the way Groucho Marx throws his foot in front of himself when he stacks or walks around. Now this one here really is interesting. It's old though. Look at this one. Look at the narrow heel and the fat foot opening up here. It's going. I haven't gotten this far, but I will show you. Look at over here. Another trackway. So there's one here, one there, and it crosses over this log. Okay, I haven't followed this one yet, and it's hard to say that they didn't come from that stone circle. So, did someone this summer have a fire, all the charcoal and remnants, or maybe they never lit it, are gone, and then they walked away barefooted? Yeah, that's the most likely answer, right? Okay. That is same size, 11.5-ish. Walk back here. Walked over here. I mean, there's a lot going on. I don't see any. I hear a dog or something howling over here. I mean, if we find really good tracks, I ain't leaving. I ain't. These are pretty good. I mean, interesting. They're definitely better than boots. But if you don't have boots, you're going to walk around barefooted. There's no glass out here. Humans are going to do that, especially kids. There's probably little creeks here in the summer kids want to check out. Oh, shit, what am I stepping on? Okay, it starts here. There's the other one. Let's see what the step length is. 25 inches. What do you think about all this? Save some battery. Let's see here. There we go. Now, it's also in line with this track here. So it's only about 22 inches. It's a size 10, so it's a different individual than this track over here. Looks like cotton candy. Can you see that? Look at that. That looks just like cotton candy to me. Mount Rainier right beside that view. All right, well, I'm gonna save some battery. And we may be back here. All right, we're here. Made it here about 9 o'clock in the morning. So today will be casting for dummies. And you'll feel like a dummy a little bit if it is a print that you're casting that looks like a human track. But this is more casting and due diligence. Things that I do, things that other people do different. You'll get a lot of opinions. It is cold. The sun's not out in this part yet. I'm walking into the sun, but you can see it's a frozen tundra. We'll get in the area and I'll show you what we're doing today. Should be fun. Okay, we're here. Pretty sure, yeah, this is the spot. Our tour starts now as far as issues that you're gonna have casting in the morning, high in altitude, and this is gonna be an issue. You're gonna have to wait a little bit for that ice to melt before you cast, because you're going to lose definition for sure. Because there's track number one. Well, not number one, but the one that I want to cast today. And then here is the rest of the track line. So let's get started here. First of all, the tripod that I'm shooting this video on snapped because I went to tighten one of the knobs too hard. So the tripod just broke. If you're gonna come out here and film with a tripod, I guess there's a million reasons you can use these things. These are just from the little grocery store, grocery outlet here in the Pacific Northwest. We have a cheap store that sells everything from knickknacks to food to you name it, wine, beer. And these are really cool. So I fixed the tripod just with that. And they're light. Keep them in your pack. You can stick a lot inside an Amazon pack for like 25 bucks. You can get a nice pack and stick a bunch of stuff in it. And I've got a bunch of stuff here, so let me show you what we're talking about. You're gonna get plenty messy today. Any kind of wipe will do, but this episode of Squatching for Dummies is not brought to you by Dude Wipes, but wouldn't it be nice? You're gonna need some water. Just bring a gallon of water. Hopefully you'll be by a water source of, visible clear water, and you can fill this back up if you need to. Now we stopped and got a 50-pound bag of plaster. We're not going to carry that all the way to the car. We're going to get a hold of Pablo Escobar and get some of that nice nose candy size style hydrocal in these freezer bags. So, you don't want to sniff it. If the day gets too long, you probably feel like you should sniff it. We're gonna mix this. It's a to-go kit, and do it right in the bag. And just like a cake decorator would do, we're gonna snip the bottom, and these tracks are not fragile at all. It's thick clay. So we can just go in there with a nice, viscous, almost melted shake style consistency. Now you're going to hear a lot of people comment in the section here about how I'm doing this all wrong. Most of that's just good intention. Sometimes it's, the alpha male, they just get envious of the fact that you're out here in the woods. Not so much that you think you're casting Sasquatch tracks, because honestly I'm leaning that these are human tracks. Gloves. Just bring 2 or 3 pairs. I always like to get the nitrile thick Harbor Freight models. These are really tough, and you can use them over and over. They don't just rip easily. A stir stick, you know, to get inside that bag if you have to, if there's a clump you can't get rid of. I mean, if your water's too cold, it will set up differently than if your water's lukewarm or kind of warm. So you may need something like this. Nice feature though is that it has a ruler. I would just go ahead and grab yourself a tape measure from Home Depot and keep that with you. 8 feet's gonna be plenty. It's gonna get cold too. You're gonna have to carry these tracks out, back to the car. It's a good 12 to 15 minute walk. So bring some gloves. So now we're getting into the fact that you're not looking into a giant mountain monkey. If you are taking something from the land where a Sasquatch was, it's already supercharged in what you're taking. There's a paranormal fingerprint, for lack of a better word, or signature, maybe like a half-life, embedded in the eDNA, or the environmental DNA of what you're taking. That I believe strongly. You talk to Mel Scahan, Yakima Native American, about taking Sasquatch hair sometime. You talk to a lot of Native Americans and a lot of people like myself and Daryl Adams that have had interesting stuff happen when you've taken tracks. So I'm leaving behind a gift. Tobacco, can't go wrong with that. That goes back generations to leave by. And what's better than Clint Eastwood's Dirty Harry backwoods cigar? And we had good luck with acceptance of Trader Joe's sardines. They would literally pull back the tab and they would be pulled out without anything done to the can. Remote woods. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to set this out in the area. Probably going to set it in the spiral. And that's, yeah, I'm calling it a spiral. Could be a fire pit. Let's say these are human tracks. We're bypassing all that. We're talking about finding impressions in the dirt, what to do next, and you know, when in doubt, cast it concept. And let's get started. So that's the track line. I don't know if you can see that or not. And this is where we're going to be working out of first of all. Now, I measured the track line yesterday. And because of the ice, it looks extra deep. It's not that deep. So there is, God, over an inch of ice crystals here. That's not helpful. But I measured 22. And because of the ice, it's more deceiving. It's coming out to like 27 here. It's definitely longer than 22 though. So the stride did open up a little bit, and I'm going from toe to toe, from left to right, and then gonna do heel and just approximate it. It's about the same, 26, 25, 26, 25. And you can just kind of take an average off of that. This is about 26, 25. Shorter one here. 26, 25. We're not going to be able to do depth right now because of the ice. So this is my buddy Brett. We just met for the first time. Brett is an interesting dude, and his connection to the Al Moon Lab, he didn't even really know how much he was connected to it. But I've been telling you guys that that property has a way of getting a hold of not only Bigfooters, but people that are open. And so we're going to talk about that. Maybe we can sit down, Brett, and do a little chat.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Brett was out here, and so he agreed to come help me cast the tracks. It's so frozen. I wish we were in this spot. There's no ice here. There's a weird dig mark right there, but I guess it's just a elk.
Yeah, elk.
There's a bird sanctuary. I saw a bald eagle, so maybe that's that. But Brett agreed to try to jump this and show me how a Sasquatch would do it, so I'm gonna film him, and Brett's explaining some of his experiences. So what's the general area we're talking about? Don't give us specifics, but we're talking north of Seattle.
Yeah, North Cascades.
North Cascades area there. So we're gonna do a conference in February. Brett's agreed to take us into some squatchy areas up that way. And we're gonna do some recording. That's the main goal. In fact, I'd like to talk people out of bringing cameras into the woods that day to see if we can get more activity just with audio equipment. We found an old road out here in the lake bed, which is the last thing I expected to see was these trees, the maple trees, right? There's like poplar, there's Doug fir. I mean, that's nothing but ash and sand for miles. And we found an old road. There's a washout bridge heading to the area we were trying to get to. But now we're headed back to the trackway on this really cool, now it's a trail. Do some log crawling here. Let's see Brett's technique. Let's see your log crawling technique. Okay. So this is the first one. Now, they say when you find a track that you should cast it the way it is. Now, your temptation is to remove stuff to make it look cooler. Don't do that, because you could accidentally get rid of a dermal ridge, or you could knock a piece of duff down in there. So, I mean, if it's a little leaf or something, you can get to it, maybe with some tweezers. But I just say cast it the way you find it. That's data. That's information, right? So let me grab this ruler. So yesterday we said these are about 11 inches. So here's 7 inches right there. And I'll just mark it. 8, 9, 10, 11. I'd say about 11 inches. And no, maybe about 3 inches wide. So it's all within human range. So depth is what, out of everything I haven't measured, this is the most interesting thing, because as we're walking around here, we commented on it earlier. Yesterday I didn't leave any tracks like this. Today I didn't. So the depth is pretty important, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty...
It's 2.5 inches deep in the heel. So let's just pour a couple here. Now, I'm not going to do anything special at all, because this is, you know, just what it is. It's going to set up easy. And I would go to the top of the earth. That's going to tell your depth, and go right past it, because now you know what the depth is, what the real depth is.
So how long will it take for something like this to fully cure?
Oh, less than an hour. And you know, the warmer the water, the quicker the cure. So this stuff, it doesn't mold.
Oh, so like a big footprint would mold?
Yeah, this patching compound would. If you did plaster or fix it all in particular, which is what I use when you can't get anything else. If you don't have that in the right environment, it will attract mold to it and get black, especially if it's not totally cured. I've never had that problem with hydrocal, and it's just so much more resilient. Like, you could pour a really thin coat of it, and you would have a really durable track. So the other thing I'm going to try to do is, after I pour these, I'm going to go do what Tom Powell taught me, is get a little bit of wire, and we're going to poke it in left and right, so these we can hang.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I met Tom Powell once at a conference. It was a conference, and he told me about that. He's like, "Oh, I keep telling Jeff to do it. You know, Jeff tells him to do it, but he doesn't do it."
Yeah,
it's so perfect so people can hang on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it is too.
I guess you could always do a test pour before you pour into a track to see where your consistency is. And you could see, oh, I still got lumps here. So if you're working with something that's not as good as this, that's like dust, I mean, you could, this will sit, and this will probably be here in 2021, you know, that fingerprint. It's very durable. And then there's another one here, so I'm gonna, since it's a smaller impression, and we measured it all yesterday. Okay. That one's gonna go right to the surface there. So I think the heel comes down into here. And we could pour more plaster over the top of it because I think the heel is actually down in here. Right. Any of this braided wire, you could use a coat hanger. Anything would work. You could use your shoelace. It's gonna bind no matter what. Now, if you're gonna make a copy of this cast, a duplicate, you may not want to do this because then you're gonna have a wire that you have to work around in order to make a duplicate. So we did 1, 2, 3, but I'm gonna pour more plaster on that one. So we'll come over here, you know, just a little tiny U with little hoops on the side. And what's that? That's gonna bind in here a lot better than if you just stick a wire in there. And then you're just gonna comb over it. Here's a toe one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
This is like the perfect consistency here. But I really want to get this one, so let's make sure we leave some. This is all we got here. Okay. So we'll just throw some, the last thing we're gonna do is just put some wire in them, and then you wait maybe 45 minutes and pop them and go. They'll just pop right out, and we'll show you how all that works. So Brett is gonna fill us in on the missing person. If you watch the last Twin Peaks video I did at the R&R diner there, I showed a picture of her. There you go. Okay, so we saw that just like Laura Palmer, they have a missing person sign sitting up at the R&R window. Brett knows about this case, and he said it's pretty strange. What's so strange about it?
Well, she just vanished, and you know, it's.
And what's her name?
Shirley Bauman.
Okay.
She went missing July 22nd last year. Search and rescue found her camp. She was halfway up Lake Blevins, and they can't find her, and it's just a unremarkable valley. So you would figure that, you know, and she's 68, and there's just not a lot of places you can go to get lost. So it's a really interesting one, just because she just vanished without a trace. And you know, me and some other people went there last year to you know, or this year to try. I think, did I say July last year? I meant July this year. But,
that recent? Yeah, it seemed recent when I saw the sign.
Yeah, July this year. So we went out looking. We actually, it's weird that we found where she camped. We found like this old shirt in the fireplace. I got pictures and
not her shirt.
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I sent all the pictures because I work with the families after search and rescue ends. Because search and rescue, you know, is deployed for, you know, about 5 days until, you know, it's usually about 5 days because there's a lot to do with it. But so I meet with families afterwards to try and help resolve the issue, especially in areas that I know and go. And this was just one of the many ones. And yeah, it's a really bizarre one because I was out there and we just can't find her. There's no signs of her. Search and rescue can't find her. The search dogs can't find her. And there was just one print that is suspected to be hers. And you know, it's where she was. And so it's just a really bizarre one. I would say, you know, out of all the people that I've been dealing with missing people, this is probably one of the more unusual ones because it's a place that she should be found.
Yeah.
But the good news is you know, we're definitely going to put a lot of time in next year to try and go back to that area to try and help locate it and bring a resolve to this,
right.
hopefully, because it's just, yeah, you know,
It breaks your heart.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And you know, working with some of these families, it's you know, it's something that Bigfooters should do more, since we're already out in this area, you know, doing all this exploring, and we already have all the gear, so we should be helping out more in that regards too. And so yeah, that was the one. It's funny that you went to the R&R, because I was there like literally a few days probably before that, and yeah, and her missing sign is right there. So yeah, it's
so you know the family members, like her daughter.
Her daughter. Yeah.
Yeah. How weird is it, Brett, that the synchronicities between you and me right now are kind of layer caking here?
Yeah.
This is a new one, and it's nothing to do with Cottage Grove.
Yeah. Well, the fact that you went to the Twin Peaks Cafe, because we actually, me and my girlfriend went there and ate, you know, and got takeout food there. Yeah.
There's going to be more to come on this for sure, because I'm interested in partaking, helping out. I've only done it twice, but I've never got to interview the family. But it was missing person cases, and they didn't have to be bizarre for me to be interested, but they were in areas where we were having activity. So I was like, well, that's strange. The circumstances are really strange, especially if it's multiple people in the same spot, and it shouldn't have happened over time. So, all right, let's switch gears here. Let's see how we're doing. So, you know, the substrate here is really loose as far as its availability to be plucked up. It's not thick, deep print, so I'm not too worried about it breaking. If it was something I was worried about breaking, you would want to dig out the corners a little bit, and then I'll show you what you could do. If it's a big track, let's say it's an 18-inch, you know, obvious Shaquille O'Neal size Sasquatch. Yeah, he's bigger than 18, isn't he? He's way up there. He must be Nephilim or something. You would take it, and then you would dig it out slowly at the edge, and you would kind of wiggle it out, and then you would kind of roll it out of here. But this is just a baby guy, and it's just going to pop out there. Now, I can already see toes on this, but we knew there were toes there.
Yeah.
So there's one track. Let's grab a stick. This one's a bigger one. Now this stuff is already cold again. It went through the chemical activation process, right? And it got warm while we were gabbing. But it's plenty thick. And so you're going to want to wait on this for, I'd say, 48 hours before it cures, and just leave it in a living room, or you know, something slightly heated. So you definitely don't want to have any chalkiness come off like it just did there. But you shouldn't be able to put your finger through it for certain. It should make a tapping sound when you hit it. And let's see. It's down there pretty deep, so you're going to want to dig it out a little bit. You don't want to break it, especially if it's a really impressive track. And that one's pretty deep.
Depth.
Now this one is wet on the edges still. But I think that's okay. That's just some thin stuff. There we go. Yeah, see, there's a little bit of hydrocal that got stuck down in there.
That had the really bad ice on it.
Yeah. Well, I think so. But the main thing is I can see that big toe poking through there. Okay. Are we got live? Okay, cool. So I'm gonna wash these in the order in which I remember them. So these are the 2 L's that I talked about earlier, and these are the 4 from the other side. So I'm gonna do the one I think is maybe the most promising first. And we're gonna pretend as though it's, you know, 48 hours later or something like that. You would want a current and not just this water sitting like this. Ideally, you would take a hose maybe at home and softly just get a soft bristle toothbrush and just come through on this, because it's ceramic after 48 hours. It's not going to slough off. You're not going to change dermaglyphs or striation marks or any of that on there. What is it, dermatoglyphics or anything? So I can see the toes. So here's what we walk away with. You know, you got your toes, you got your ball of your foot, you got your, is that the medial angle, the outside angle of the left foot, and here's the arch. But that was the one out of all of them I was most interested in today because it didn't get the ice permafrost coming out of it. The other ones did. But you can see the depth. You can see the arch there. You can see it really good here. So, yeah, I mean, it's size 12 is my boot. That's a size 10 there. That was the other one. That was the size 10. Okay. Well, the rest of these we'll clean up later, and I'll show you what they all look like. Okay, so a couple days have gone by. Here are the casts that we brought back, and you can see these are plainly looking human tracks. And why do I say that? Well, they match what you would want to see anatomically with an arch. The toes are pushed close together. You know, the size is unremarkable. The step length was unremarkable. The depth was the only thing, but all we're going to say is that we got the timing a little bit off on when these tracks were here, because there was permafrost in the original video of the track, way more than I thought. So there's example of permafrost degradation. These holes in here, in fact, look at that. That's really cool. You can see how the permafrost actually was cast by the plaster. That is ice crystal that it was cast around. So that's really interesting. The first time I've cast that. So I'm trying to rush through these here to make a shorter video because it is unremarkable. Now these were hard enough to where I just took a garden hose and squirt them down, and there was just no loss of detail at all here. So overall, we got what we came for. We cast the tracks. We got our measurements. They're all about a size 11 to 10. Step length was about between 20 to 24 inches, and you know, no compliant gait. These are our castings. This last final thing I'll mention here is if you don't want to do the Ziploc bag technique like I showed in there, then you want to carry in something bigger, more substantial. I would suggest carrying in a rubber bucket. It's something you can fold up easily, possibly. It's much lighter and less cumbersome than going with a regular bucket like that. So think about spending $9 at, I think this is just from a garden store. And when you pour plaster in something like this and you want to keep it, you're going to want something that's not rigid, because it's going to want to flex to pop out the debris that's in there. If it's rigid, it's not going to pop, and it's just going to build up like cake batter because you're not going to get it out in time to clean it out perfectly. So think about that. Think about how awesome you are. All right.